life's a repetition. It's an action of repeat. Acts of doing, acts of saying, something bitter, something sweet. Acts of life that keep occurring, ghosts appearing through the sound, waving at us from a distance, 'cause the whole wide world is round and 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 round. Oh, the whole wide world is round. Generations generating, bring the people here en masse, living in a world where everybody's second class, forming, moving in a circle, ghosts appearing through the sound, waving at us from a distance, 'cause the whole wide world is round and 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 round. People here before us leave their memories behind. Actions done and actions written, acts impressed upon our minds, forming, moving in a circle, ghosts appearing through the sound, waving at us from a distance, 'cause the whole wide world is round and 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 round. Oh, the whole wide world is round.
Our reading today comes from Olelo No'o, Hawaiian Proverbs and Poetical Sayings, collected, translated, and annotated by Mary Kawena Pukui. The Hawaiian Islands are located in the center of the Pacific Ocean, a body of water covering almost 1/3 of the earth, larger than all the continents combined. Life-sustaining islands are mere dots. On the big island of Hawaii, volcano goddess Pele is still at work expanding and reshaping the land. Her black lava holds the sun's heat. In the salty vastness, it's a miracle that fruitful land exists at all on the sun-baked specks. What makes Hawaii lush and green are her mountains, which catch the clouds and collect the fresh water. 2 Proverbs, number 2482. There is life in the water from the clouds. Rain gives life. Number 1907. Knowledge is set up in the clouds. Observe the clouds for signs and omens. Have you ever been stopped in your tracks by a cloud? Can you remember the last one that did? Just thinking about clouds brings me into a kind of dream state, a drifting, floating feeling, as if my mind is carried upward by the soft white shapes above. Science, of course, has names for these clouds: cumulus, cumulonimbus. But there's something about just letting a cloud be a big, white, fluffy cloud that feels deeply comforting. It brings me right back to childhood, lying in the grass at the park at the end of my street, dreaming of bouncing from cloud to cloud, building whole imaginary worlds in the sky. I actually have a little pride when it comes to cloud gazing. When I lived in a coastal town in Florida, the sky stretched out for miles, always offering a canvas of clouds to admire. I became the kind of person who would point them out without hesitation. Oh, look, that's one good one. To this day, friends still send me photos of good clouds they see. And my dear friend Lena once told me that when she spots a particularly great cloud, she hears my voice in her head saying, "Oh, that's a good one." You wouldn't be wrong to say that I often have my head in the clouds. And for that, today, I am grateful. As I prepared this Earth Day sermon, I found myself once again turning towards the clouds, those silent, patient teachers. I looked up, seeking their lessons, lessons written in mist and motion, lessons about life and about ourselves. I kept returning to those two phrases from our reading today that kept whispering themselves to me. There is life in the water from the clouds. Knowledge is set up in the clouds. This past Tuesday, April 22nd, we marked the 55th anniversary of Earth Day. Since its beginning in 1970, Earth Day has challenged us to rethink our relationship to this planet, rethink our government's role in taking care of this planet. That first year, 20 million people took to the streets to demand action, and their voices led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency later that year, as well as landmark environmental protections like the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Act. It was a movement filled by hope and outrage and a deep love of the earth. And yet today, we see a more complicated picture again. For a while, we saw a lot of corporate greenwashing during Earth Day, companies using Earth Day as a bit of a marketing ploy. This year, we also have seen the Environmental Protection Agency stripped of many of its vital powers. The acts that once brought us comfort and hoping we are taking one step closer into caring more, caring better for the planet and those we love on it. We see the staggering, terrifying trajectory of the climate crisis. And it's not the most hopeful time to preach about Earth Day. And yet here we are. So maybe let's get our heads in the clouds together. Let's return to the clouds as our teachers. The first lesson from the clouds was already given to us in the readings. On the big island of Hawaii, Volcano goddess Pele is still at work, expanding and reshaping the land in the salty vastness. It's a miracle that fruitful land exists at all on the sun-baked specks. What makes this island lush and green are her mountains, which catch the clouds and collect the fresh water. There is life in the water from the clouds. Knowledge is set up in the clouds. The clouds are an essential part of the water cycle, allowing evaporated water to accumulate and fall back to the ground. This particular set of readings was sent to me by our own Nina Litton. Back in January, I preached a sermon about bare feet and reflected briefly on how this image shows up in different faiths. And after the service, Nina came up to me and wisely suggested that perhaps that was part one of at least a two-part sermon that we should collaborate on. And she went on to share some cursory insights into the recurring image of feet in other Hawaiian proverbs, poetic sayings, and stories. When I turned towards the clouds, I asked if she would turn with me. And the first words in response, water is life. As we explored it further together, just in this room, we thought about the eye-catching beauty of clouds in isolation, somehow clearly separated from the sky above. I find those very easy to admire. But the thing is, those aren't the clouds that often give us rain. The clouds that create life are the clouds kind of like what we have outside this morning. They're darker, they're heavier, they're holding tons and tons of water. They're blocking out much, if not all, of the sun. They cover whole skies above. They bring some coziness. They can warm us on a cold winter day, but they're not the clouds that come to mind when I think of cloud gazing. Speaking to Nina, it became clear that I was mistaken. If anything, shouldn't these be the clouds that call awe upon themselves? Lesson 1, clouds are life. Lesson 2, clouds are separate, yet never apart from their whole. As you might imagine, these past few weeks, I was bringing up clouds a lot in conversation. So much so, in fact, that I found myself in an elevator with a gentleman named Edward, who was very excited for me to share his wisdom with you all. This was a bit of a long elevator ride, and we had struck up a very casual, brief conversation, so of course I asked, "Can I ask you a weird question?" He smiled and nodded his head. "I've been thinking a lot about clouds lately, and I wonder, what do you think about clouds?" And his smile faded for a moment as he furrowed his brow, pondering this extremely random question from his elevator companion. And after a moment, he smiled again. "I do like clouds. But isn't it interesting how a cloud individualizes itself? How does it do that? But it does, so it has a story to tell. Isn't it interesting how a cloud individualizes itself? How it differentiates from the sky, even just for a moment? As I researched it further, I learned that clouds, in fact, are constantly dispersing and forming even as they look solid from below. They are the same water being held in the clear blue sky that we often see, but for that moment of their existence, those water droplets have come together and formed a cloud. Beyond the science of how or why it happens, Edward has told us it happens. So, it has a story to tell. They become their own entities, just as we become our own entities, and a tree becomes their own entity. And when clouds become their own entity, when we become our own, we have a story to tell. But our entities feel much more concrete, a little more permanent than a cloud. Perhaps the clouds then remind us that just as they have a story to tell when they emerge from the sky, they are never fully separate from that sky. And they return soon after. They are never fully separate from that sky. They become entities. They tell a story if we're listening. And they return because they are never fully separate from the sky. We are never fully separate from the earth. Lesson 2. Clouds are separate, yet never apart from their whole. We are separate, but never apart from the earth. Lesson 3. To fall in love with the world. We have learned from the clouds, through their crucial role in the cycle of life. Each cloud participates, each one supports life. We have learned from the clouds through their essence, reminding us of the stories that emerge when entities form, separating momentarily from their whole, yet never fully separate. And now we celebrate what I heard most when I asked people about clouds. Clouds are awesome. I can watch them for hours. Clouds amaze me. My imagination is expanded by clouds. Clouds are pretty good. It's true. This is a lesson that I like to learn from the idiom, to have your head in the clouds. This often has a negative connotation to mean that someone is out of touch with reality and has impractical, unrealistic plans or expectations, a daydreamer. Well, guess what? I think reality is overrated. Thank you. Hear, hear. Okay, that was kind of a joke, mostly a joke. But honestly, if we want to talk realistic plans or expectations of the world and what is to come, that seems pretty life-limiting right now. We need to daydream. We need to be in awe. We need to find the ways to fall in love with this world every single day, because this is the world that we have. This is the world that we need. This is the world that needs us. We are not apart. We are temporarily individualized. I trust that our roots are firmly planted in the ground. We talk about the reality of our country all the time because we need to. We spread our roots wide so that we can protect our loved ones, our neighbors, ourselves. What we can't forget is to keep our heads in the clouds. 1, clouds are life. 2, separate but not apart. 3, fall in love with the world. The clouds remind us that we are part of this great cycle, a story that is larger than any one lifetime, any one era, any one crisis. The water rises into the clouds, falls again to nourish the land, to fill our rivers, to quench our thirst. There is life in the water from the clouds, and there is wisdom too. Down here on the ground, it can feel dire. The soil's contaminated. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel too much to bear, but please let the clouds stop you in your tracks. Please let them teach you how to drift and how to reign, how to nourish and how to move. Today I'm asking you to come with me, or maybe I'm joining you because you're already there, on a journey to shift this paradigm, to reimagine our place in this living, breathing world. You are not you. I am not me, any more than a cloud is a cloud. We are part of something bigger, something that existed far before us, and something that in some form will exist long after we are gone. We are part of each other. We are part of the earth and the sky and the rivers and the stories yet to be written. To face the world as it is today requires more than anger, though anger is justified. It requires more than despair, though despair is understandable. It requires love, and it requires dreaming. We must love this world always. We must love this world, not just the beautiful parts, not just the beautiful parts, but the broken parts too. Not just the moments of triumph, but the aching, chaotic struggles that we find ourselves in. The earth, the clouds, the oceans, the mountains, they are not separate from our politics or our wars or our heartbreaks or our healing. They are not separate from our capacity to change. They are us. We are a reflection of them. So please remember, there is life in the water from the clouds. There is knowledge set up in the clouds. May we listen, may we learn, and may we fall in love with the world again and again and again. Amen.